Hey guys, what's going on? Today we're going to be looking at things called the angle of elevation and angle of depression. First, we're going to do angle of elevation. So when looking up to an object, the angle of elevation is formed by the observer's line of sight, which is demonstrated here, and a horizontal line. Okay, so this is kind of an extension of trig. So we're just kind of learning these two specific types of angles. And then we're still just using trig to solve for our unknowns, our missing things. So it says Casey that the site's the top of an 80-foot tall, 84-foot tall lighthouse. Okay, so we have Casey here. Okay, we have some lighthouse. Oh, I should say they're both on the ground, and the lighthouse is 84 foot tall. Okay, and the angle of elevation is 58, so it says he sights the top of it, and this horizontal line is here. So this angle right here will be 58 degrees. Okay, and then it says if Casey is 6 foot tall, okay, how far is he standing from the base of the lighthouse? So a good amount to dissect here. So what it's asking us for essentially is this side of the triangle. That would be how far away he is from the lighthouse. Now, we have enough information to find one of these sides of the triangle, in particular, this side right here. Okay? To get this, the lighthouse is 84 feet tall. Casey is 6 foot. So really, obviously, this is rounding. The eyes are not at the very, very top of his head, but it'll be good enough for an approximation. So the difference between the top of the lighthouse and Casey is 84 minus 6. Okay, so 84 minus 6 goes to 78. So this side right here, you could say is 78. So now, so again, we're using trig. So relative to the angle we have, the sides we have is the opposite and the adjacent. So the trig function that goes with that is tan. So we have tan of 58 degrees equals opposite over adjacent. So 78 over x. Move your x over. And divide the tan 58 over. Okay, so we put that into the calculator. So 78 divided by tan of 58. And that goes to about, it says round to the nearest tenth. So that is about 48.7. Okay. So that's an example for angle of elevation. For angle of depression, okay, so this one's slightly trickier. So when looking down to an object, the angle of elevation is formed by the observer's line of sight and a horizontal line, as you can see right here. The angle of depression is congruent to the angle of elevation because they are alternate interior angles. Okay, let's take a look at an example. So number 5, it says a lifeguard is sitting on a platform looking down at a swimmer in the water. If the lifeguard's line of sight is 8 feet above ground, So essentially, we're going to have a triangle here, 8 feet above ground. And the angle of depression to the swimmer is 18 degrees. How far away from the how far away is the swimmer from the lifeguard? Let me do this in a different color right here. Do a dashed line instead. So this is 18 degrees. Okay, and it wants you to find this. How far away is the swimmer? Now, there are a couple different ways you could solve this. Okay, so one way is basically using what the notes say right here, the fact that this angle of elevation is also 18 degrees. Okay, so first let's do it that way. So if you do it that way, then within your triangle, you have the 8 is the opposite and x is the adjacent, so that's tangent. So tangent of 18 degrees equals 8 over x. So x tan 18 is 8. So x equals 8 divided by tan of 18 degrees. Okay, punch that into your calculator, and it should give you about 24.6 feet. So that's one way. Another way you can do angle of depression. Of course, setup and triangle drawn is still all the same. Okay. And you have this as 18 degrees. So, instead of using the alternate interior angles, okay, something else you could do, okay, since you see that the angle of depression and this top corner of this triangle, okay, they're in a corner, and by that I mean 90 degrees. So these two guys are complementary angles of one another. Okay, so basically you could do 90 minus 18, which is 72, which goes right here. Then you can use that angle. Okay, x is the opposite in this case, and 8 is the adjacent. So then, oh, sorry. So then that tan function, or that trig function is tangent. So tan of 72 equals opposite, which is x, over adjacent, which is 8. Move that 8 over. Punch that in your calculator, and it should be the same thing. And it is 24.6. So angle of depression, you really have a couple options. Which one you use is entirely up to you. When I was in high school, I think I did this, which is kind of why I'm showing it. I don't know why, but at the time, this just made more sense to me than this way with the alternate interior angles. And plus, I would kind of go back and forth because I would try to use whichever one made the algebra easier. So for example, I would try to avoid this where x is on the bottom. So like on this one, I would have done this. So that way, all I have to do is multiply an 8 over, just because it's faster. But whichever way you are more comfortable with is perfectly fine. They are both valid. But that is it for today. Thank you, guys.